Okay, let's talk about the ORELA, Essential Academic Skills Test. And specifically, we're going to be talking about Subtest 3, which has to do with math. And I'm going to get into this math practice problem here in a second. But if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that the only reason you're watching this is that you are a teacher or working on becoming a teacher in the state of Oregon. So, welcome. And what we're going to be doing here is taking a look at a math problem that you should be able to handle pretty easily, hopefully, in order to handle the math that's going to be on the Essential Academic Skills Subtest 3 test. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is John. I'm the founder of Tablet Class Math, and I'm also a middle and high school math teacher. So I know what it's like to take certification exams. I have a degree in math, a master's degree. So I know what it's like to be in a teacher and teach in a classroom. So I relate totally to what you're going through, and I know what it's like to take these certification exams. So it's a lot of work, and one of the things that I always stress from my own personal experience, and probably you relate to this as well as you likely may have taken other certification exams, is that you want to study. You really want to study for these exams. Let's just say it that way. Don't want to leave anything to chance because quite a few people actually don't pass these exams first time out. So you want to avoid that at all costs. So in terms of the math on the ORELA Essential Academic Skills test, you're talking about high school level math. It's not just going to be basic math. So you're going to have to know algebra, geometry, and amongst other topics. So this particular problem here, hopefully, is not going to be too difficult for you to handle. So I'm going to obviously solve it, but let's go ahead and talk about it now. And if you get this right, but that by no means is that a full indication that you're ready for this exam. But if you get it wrong, then that's just more feedback that hey, you need to go ahead and do some additional practice. One thing before we get going, I do offer a great test prep course for this test. I'm going to go ahead and leave the link to that course in the description of this video, but we'll talk more about that after we talk about the problem. Okay, so here is the problem. What I'd like you to do is to simplify, okay? So you're going to have to do some things here, simplify this as much as you can, and then we'll obviously talk about it and I'll solve it. But even if you don't know what to do, you should pause the problem and just think about it. Try to go back to, what you did in high school or maybe a few years back when you were in college taking a math class. So just be very careful with it. You don't want to make any errors. So go ahead and pause the video and give it a try. Okay, so hopefully you didn't find this too difficult. So let's go ahead and solve the problem. Now, it's not an equation. All we're doing here is simplifying. Okay, so in other words, we can write this in a simpler manner. And the concept here that we're going to be using is like terms and the distributive property. So let's go ahead and first deal with this portion of the problem, and then we'll simplify this portion of the problem, then we'll put everything together. Okay, so what we want to do is use the distributive property to multiply whatever is on the outside of these parentheses to whatever is on the inside. So here, this 1/2, I'm going to multiply it, or I'm going to distribute that 1/2 to each of these terms in this trinomial. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that now. So 1/2 times 6x squared will be, hopefully, all of you out there got 3x squared. So that's excellent. Now I got to distribute that 1/2 to this negative 2x, and that's just going to be negative 1x, or just x. Okay, I'll put that 1x there just to kind of emphasize that's just a 1. When you write x like so, that's the same thing as 1x. Now we got to be careful with these signs as well. So now we got 1/2 times 4, and hopefully everyone out there got 2. Okay, so now I went ahead and distributed this 1/2 to all of this. So that's this portion of the problem is simplified. Now I'm going to have to deal with what's going on over here. So this can cause some confusion, and I snuck it in there purposely to see if you can, could handle this, because this is a common place where students kind of mess up. So this is a negative sign outside of this parentheses. You can think of it as a negative 1. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to distribute that negative 1 to all of these terms here. Okay, so let's go and do that now. So negative 1 times this 3x squared is going to be a negative 3x squared. And now I have negative 1 times this 6x, okay, right here. So that's going to give me negative 6x. And now I have this negative 1. I'm going to multiply this by this final term over here, this negative 1. So you got to be very careful with these signs. So negative 1 times a negative 1 is a positive 1. Okay, so that's the first step in simplifying. And what I did was to use the distributive property so I can see all these terms. And now it's just a matter of adding like terms. So I have a 3x squared, and I'm saying to myself, okay, are there any other x squareds, right? So if there are any other x squared, that other term, if there is other terms, is a like term, so I can add them. So you can see here, this is an x squared, so I have a 3x squared and a negative 3x squared, so when I add those together, I get 0. So those are going to go away. And what else do I have? I have this negative 1x, so I'm looking for anything with an x. I have that over here. Okay, these are like terms, so I could just add the coefficients. Those are the numbers in front of the x's here. So negative 1 plus a negative 6 is negative 7x. Then lastly, I have some numbers. I have a positive 2 and a positive 1, and that is positive 3. Okay, so if you got negative 7x plus 3, then that's excellent. And if you're, got pretty close, but you kind of messed up on these signs here, or you just, made a little error, it's not such a little error. Let me just say that much. It is a little error. I mean, something you can correct, but this is the difference between getting a problem right and getting a problem wrong. Okay, and that's the tricky thing with math. You really can't afford to make little errors. The only way you're going to get, strong to manage, and this is a easy problem, but to handle all the procedures and processes to solve all these algebra and geometry problems is through practice. Okay, you need a lot of practice. And one of the things that I tell students out there, and when I mean students, I'm talking about fellow teachers, college students, high school students. It doesn't make a difference. Is if you take in math before and you're good, and let's say I'm strong in math. I did great in high school, and in college I aced math. That's excellent. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you remember. Math is a skill that you have to kind of brush up on, and there is a lot of math. So don't just assume that all this is going to come back to your memory. You have to practice. Okay, and again, these tests, a lot of students, or assuming a lot of teachers, don't pass these exams, and particularly because of math. So don't be that teacher, okay? Everybody out there can do this. Everyone can pass this exam. You wouldn't be where you're at as a teacher or soon-to-be teacher if you already haven't passed the level of mathematics that's going to be on the essential academic skills test. So you already have demonstrated that you can handle the math because that's just virtue of where you're at. Okay, but you're going to have to go back and put the work in, even if you've done well in math. Again, I know I'm being a little redundant, but anyways, I like to emphasize these things because I make these videos with the intention of having you pass the first time out. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap up this video. I've been on YouTube for, I don't know, I think at the time of this video, like 12 plus years. So hopefully you'll consider subscribing. I have hundreds and hundreds of videos that can help you out if you like my teaching style. So hopefully you'll subscribe. And if you'd like the video, definitely appreciate a thumbs up and leave me some feedback. Any feedback is good. Is this your first time taking this test? Are you new to teaching? Any feedback is good. Hopefully you'll comment. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and leave a link to my math prep course. Very, very comprehensive. I'll leave the link in the description of this video below. So if you're looking for something to help you prepare for this Subtest 3, I think you'll really like my course. But with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your teaching career. And believe me, I know that it's only us teachers that really know what it takes to become a teacher. And it's kind of, that's just kind of the way it is. I think, when you speak to family members or people who haven't taught, a lot of people have these misconceptions on, oh, teachers do this, that, and other thing. Teachers there's a lot of education, a lot of work to be a teacher. Okay, and so you need to be proud of yourself, and us fellow teachers have to kind of support ourselves in the sense that, you know what, sometimes we're the only ones that understand one another. So I understand where you're coming from, and I wish you all the best. And thank you for your time. Have a great day.